Special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and celebrity interviews live from the Grotto with Greg Hanna. Greg, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. Neil, it's been a great week. I'm really excited to talk to our guest who has incredible integrity, and what he did and put himself through to prove that to the world is impressive.
So Peter Navarro joins us, author and much, much more. And we're going to go, Peter, ultimately into your new book. But I know Greg has a lot of questions for you, but it's been a very challenging time for democracy. And when the other side always talks about democracy, really our freedom of speech is being taken away every single second, anytime that our competitors look at specifically our message, right? They'll silence it, right? Try to silence it, right, Peter?
It's not just your freedom of speech. That was my freedom. I spent 4 months in prison for defending the constitutional separation of powers. And every person involved in that was a Democrat. I love traditional mainstream Democrats, the black, brown, blue collar Americans who shower after work and not before and all that. But the radical elites that have gained control of that party are out of control. I don't know if you saw me at the Republican National Convention, but I said two things. I said, if we don't control our government, their government will control us. And then I said, I went to prison so you won't have to. Those two threads tie together because I wound up in prison because the Democrats got control of all three branches of the government, the Congress, the Attorney General's office, and a Democrat appointee judge. What I'm trying to do now, though, I'll be honest with you, is just look forward to November 5th. If we lose that election for Trump, we're going to lose that country. When I was in prison, they were printing my new book. It's called The New MAGA Deal. The subtitle's kind of fun. It's the unofficial deplorables guide to the Trump 2024 platform. And why this is important is that right now, strategically, I'm seeing too many Republicans attack Kamala Harris on her easily attackable personal qualities, the cackle and this and that Willie Brown stuff. Whereas channeling Bill Clinton, it's the Trump policy agenda stupid. Because if you just go through, and you can look at this in the New MAGA Deal, where I document all these policies, from a polling standpoint, everything that moves voters, the swing voters, Trump leads in. If you go at the top, it's neck and neck with the economy and inflation versus the border chaos. Trump had 4 years of prosperity, zero inflation. Kamala Harris has given a full-throated endorsement of Bidenomics, which is at the root of our failing economy, our inflation, and now our crashing stock market. She owns that. If you look at the border crisis, it's interesting that the one significant job the commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, gave the vice president, Kamala Harris, was what? Borders are. Go down, solve the border, Kamala. She wouldn't even go down there. And she owns the flow of probably 10 million illegals. And it's a motley crew. It's murderers, rapists. You got drug cartels, human traffickers, Islamic terrorists. She won't even say the word radical Islam, by the way. Chinese spies. And then the Democrat base, my friend, is largely the black, brown, and blue collar Americans in, man, the working class. And she's allowed millions of illiterate illegals flooding into our labor markets to drive down wages and steal their jobs. And so the economy, the border, and then what? Look, Donald Trump in Trump's America, check this out. Communist China, Imperial Russia, the Rocket Man in North Korea, and the mullahs of Iran all left us and the rest of the world alone because they feared and respected Donald Trump. In Kamala Harris's White House right now, you've got Gaza exploding, Iran threatening what could be a regional, if not world war. You got Russia in the Ukraine spending tens of billions of our money to fight them. You've got communist China and the Taiwan Strait threatening Taiwan, and you got the Rocket Man launching missiles again. I mean, on that alone, people should vote Trump over Harris. So the economy, border, foreign policy, and then there's crime. Kamala Harris is the defund the police queen. When the riots broke out in Minneapolis, she was raising money for the rioters, and saying defund the police. Your head explodes. She wants to win Pennsylvania as a key battleground state. It's like Hillary Clinton goes into West Virginia in 2016 and tells the coal miners, hey, we're shutting you down. We're putting you out of work. You go program. Kamala Harris done the same thing in Pennsylvania. I'm going to stop fracking and offshore drilling, by the way. So, and then look, and then there's all the woke stuff. I mean, Kamala Harris, it's like you watch the guy boxer in Paris just kick the living you know what out of that woman who would otherwise have been a champion. That's Kamala. And I mean, one last thing, okay? I was in prison. Like, my fiance picked up on this one watching one of Kamala's clips, right? Kamala goes fervently, we have to approve sex change operations for male prisoners. We just got to do that. And so my fiance goes, yeah, that's Kamala's idea of prison reform. I mean, this stuff's insane. I don't know how she even leads. Oh, yes, I do. We're not running against Kamala. We're running against CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, the New York Times, and the Washington Post. They are liars. They're fake news on her behalf. That's what we're up against. So God bless your show so we get a little truth out. New MAGA Deals, the book, newmagadeal.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble as well.
Good,
Yeah, I'm excited to grab that book. I just grabbed my copy, hardcover, $27 on Amazon. I can't wait to read it. So Peter, can you share your view on what happened in 2020's election? And as you pointed out, you know, we've got to win November 5th. How do we ensure that?
Well, look, Republicans and Donald Trump prefer paper ballots and voting on game day. That's the easiest way to make sure you only get legal ballots. But those aren't the rules right now. And until those rules get changed back, we got to play by the Democrats' rules. And what the Democrats do is they stuff the ballot box with as many legal and illegal votes that they possibly can prior to game day. Early voting, absentee voting. Now, I'm not suggesting in any way that we stuff the ballot box with illegal votes, but I am saying that if you're watching or listening to this show, you get your vote in before Election Day, or you're going to get Carrie Lake. You know that reference? That's like Carrie Lake ran for governor in Arizona as a Republican, and her Democrat opponent was actually the Secretary of State with the power to shut the ballot boxes down on game day. Katie Hobbs did that. Carrie Lake fell short of winning when all the polls said it was going to be a landslide. So vote early, vote absentee, get your votes in, and after you do it, go find a friend or a colleague, make sure they do it if they're voting for Trump. That's the only way we do that now. Once Trump gets in, we can go about the business of getting back to the French system, ironically, which is paper ballots, game day voting.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that is there a way we can stop the cheating? You don't think you think it'll happen again?
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't know if you saw the film 2000 Mules, but
I have not. I want to see them.
Yeah.
I recommend you guys do that and have Dinesh D'Souza on the show. But what we saw in that, the 2000 Mules referred to, the mules were all the guys who would go out to these drop boxes and drop illegal ballots into these things, right? So the point is that one of the things we need to do is to have everybody listening either go work at your precinct, make sure everything's kosher there, or have peaceful militias in localities where these drop boxes allowed, and stake them out and make sure there's no shenanigans going on. Dinesh D'Souza's film showed how these people would drop off these ballots in the dead of night, and they'd go back to these Democrat organizations, which were dedicated to fabricating fake ballots. You know, you get to like, yeah, I mean, the tell in that con game was you'd get like hundreds of thousands of ballots where the only ballot was for Biden. Nothing down the ticket. That's a sure tell. But look, it's the Trump policy agenda stupid. That's our mantra. We need to be versed on what the policies are. That's where the New MAGA Deal book comes in, newmagadeal.com, Amazon, Barnes and Noble as well. And I'm out there proselytizing in a secular way that if you just look at the polls, Trump beats her on everything. The only one issue that's salient, and it's middle of the pack, not top, is of course the abortion issue. But if people understand how extreme the position of now Kamala and her VP choice Waltz is, that guy is to the left of Kamala. That's hard to do. It's like abortion right up to birth and through it for 28 days. I mean, I can't imagine what that decision looks like. A baby's born and you still want to kill it. But that's Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And people like Democrat women are offended by that. So let's see what happens, as Donald Trump loves to say, but we got a work cut out for us. We're not running against Kamala Harris, but the media. And you just got to keep doing shows like that to get the message out.
Yeah, Peter, in the administration, you were very vocal about how we needed to be tough on China. How do you see our relationship with China now, and what do you think it might evolve to in the next few years?
Well, Joe Biden is kowtowing to China. China's running wild out there. On the one hand, China tells Biden that they're going to stay out and not help Russia. And meantime, the arms are flowing faster than you can imagine. And Biden lets them get away with that. The trade deficit continues to soar, which hurts our country. I mean, look, you just compare the two administrations. Like, okay, do you want a higher tax burden? Harris. You want a lower one? Trump. You want a higher regulatory burden? Harris. You want a lower one? Trump. You want to be soft on China? Harris. You want to be tough on China? Trump. Secure the border? Trump. Open the border? Harris. You want inflation? Harris. You got that. I mean, it's just everything. I can't think of anything that she's competent on. And by the way, I can't think of a single major presidential candidate in history who has less foreign policy experience than Kamala Harris.
Well, why
she
don't
just never
so
got
what they did?
interested in it in the White House. Biden would have dinner, this, that. She doesn't know any of these people. The only foreign policy leader she knows well is the one she offended, Netanyahu. She's an anti-Semite, river to the sea, pro-Palestinian. It's probably why Josh Shapiro didn't get picked.
Now, here's my thought. Why don't the mainstream media, I know that because they don't want Trump to win, interview like they did to Sarah Palin when that totally threw the whole election off then, where she didn't have the foreign policy experience and all those different things, and she was just a VP, and they really hit her hard with questions.
They're the corporate media, not the mainstream media. There's nothing mainstream about the journalists that operate on ABC, CBS, NBC, PBS, CNN, and MSNBC. They are overwhelmingly registered Democrats, many of whom are very liberal Democrats. So how would you expect a media where the people who work within that media are liberals, radical liberals in many cases, to do anything other than become effectively the press corps for the Harris administration? it's look, I'm not, it's senseless to bitch and moan about it. Okay. I'm just saying it as a fact. This has been going on since 2016. It is what it is. We've got Trump as the great communicator, but it's a struggle. You know, they cancel us, they lie about us, they scrub. I mean, they have a picture of Trump, fight, 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 and they don't alter that. They hide the fact that Harris's borders are. When does the American electorate get offended and wake up to all of that and say, hey, Trump's the guy? It's got to happen before November 5th. We're running out of time here.
That's right. You know, another quick question on the supply chains. You know, you always emphasize bringing them back to the U.S. How successful have we been to date on achieving this, and what should we do next?
Well, we haven't been very successful at all. We set in motion a lot of good things to bring things back on shore, but Biden reversed everything. And part of the inflationary shock we're experiencing certainly is the overspending on bad government investments, but it's also the fragility and lack of resilience of global supply chains. When those break down, that creates bottlenecks. Bottlenecks create cost push inflation. And then suddenly things are more expensive.
Okay.
That's Biden-Harris.
Now, just this announced the VP candidate. You're telling me he is that left as Kamala, the new VP?
Yes. Oh, yeah. No, it's an interesting internal struggle with the choices. He's the governor of Minnesota. His performance during the riots was every bit as disgusting as Kamala Harris's rhetoric. But he had actually the power to go up and break up a lot of that with the National Guard. He didn't do it. And basically you had, came down to Shapiro versus Walz. Shapiro was the guy who might be able to take Pennsylvania and would hedge some of the loss of the Jewish vote because he's an Orthodox Jew, and Harris is an obvious Palestinian Gaza anti-Semite. But Bernie Sanders endorsed Walz, the progressives endorsed Walz, and Kamala said Walz. So that is a George McGovern ticket on steroids right there. So, I mean, it's just a question of whether that can be effectively messaged. And my view is it's the Trump policy agenda stupid. I mean, if we get lost in like attacking her personally, that's a waste of time.
I think it's a mistake. It's a complete mistake when President Trump went to the black mainstream media and then started attacking them about Kamala's race. That's not just the issues now. We have to stick to issues of the difference between the two candidates, the political issues. Do you want to continue to be not having any money in your pocket? There's just certain things, inflation, all these different areas need to be addressed, and just stay to that. And then her non-experience in foreign policy, bring that out, and specifically in debates, and you can win. You'll win, but then that means with no cheating. I'll keep saying.
I thought that appearance by Donald Trump at the Black Journalist thing. I thought it was beautiful the way he started it. I mean, that woman was just flat out rude. And by the way, he showed up and Kamala didn't. I think it's going to become an issue soon that Kamala is not doing the sit down interviews. She's not going out and making herself accessible to questions, that she's the only way she can fill an auditorium with enough people is by having Beyonce or Bruce Springsteen or somebody show up first, like Hillary Clinton did. But we can beat her on everything. Even the abortion issue, we can get to a net neutral on that by pointing out her extreme position on abortion, which is not consistent with that of most women. It's just not. So new MAGA deal. I started writing that after the 2022 congressional election, when We didn't have that red wave. I said, why is that? Well, we're not running on policy correctly. So here's the policies, and we're not explaining what MAGA is. That's the other thing the New MAGA Deal book does. NewMAGADeal.com, Amazon, Barnes & Noble as well. What I explain in about MAGA, going back to the 2016 campaign, which I was part of, MAGA, that acronym, was forged in the crucible of that campaign. It means three simple things: a strong domestic manufacturing base created by fair trade and Buy American, top of the triangle; border security to protect American workers and national security; and three, an end to the endless wars which have in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, which send young men and women off to lose their limbs or lives. That's all MAGA is. That's it. And that was grafted onto traditional Republican values like low taxes, low regulation. And that turned the Republican Party from the party of Wall Street into the party of Main Street. And that's it. It's like this whole idea that these extremists on the radical left are accusing us of being extreme. Are you kidding me? They want to cut off the genitals of young boys at 12 years old and sacrifice them on the altar of this gender dysphoria. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. So that's all I can do. I mean, to November 5th, I'm going to preach the secular gospel of MAGA. My Bible, the secular Bible, is the New MAGA Deal. And I'm hoping your viewers and listeners will look at it on the website, newmagadeal.com, or you can go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And let's win, baby, win, as Al Davis used to say.
So,
All right. Greg
real
has
quick back to right before I ask that, Neil. So just back to election integrity real quick, because I think this was a really important point that you made. So people don't get, so Trump doesn't get Carrie Laked, right? As you said, where they turn off the voting machines on game day. So you're saying vote early. Is there any possibility that those early votes get collected and thrown away and not even counted?
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that go on. I mean, it's like, you look at Atlanta, you look at Detroit, you look at the shenanigans we uncovered the last time around. This is where I urge people to get involved, be precinct watchers. That's what you need to do. And you just need to get out and do that. And then find out if there's drop boxes in your area and set up and watch them 24 hours a day. But the Democrats in control of things now, they don't reflect the mainstream Democrat Party, so we can fracture their base if we message properly. And if we police the radicals that are going to try to stuff the ballot box, maybe we can prevent them from doing a lot of what they did the last time around.
Okay. Now, Greg has a final question. It's something that makes you think, and then we appreciate you, Peter, coming by, but this is one that his listeners and my listeners and viewers learn from. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead, Greg.
Great. Well, thanks, Peter. It's been a real pleasure and an honor to speak with you. So tell me, what do you feel is the most important thing in life you've ever learned?
Mission and love, neck and neck. My fiance and I, we got stronger with prison. She did the time with me, and I just love her dearly. I love this country dearly. And so when I'm working, I'm on the mission. And when I'm not, I'm with her.
Well,
Beautiful. Thank you,
Peter, we really appreciate it, man. And wow, you were in prison how many months ago? And what did you learn in that process of being in prison? I'm just really interested to know that it was scary, right?
We'll do that at a later session. I want to stay focused on
but I'd love to have you back to talk about that. I appreciate it, Peter. All right, thank you. All right, that was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show and Celebrity